We're going to be unpacking the politics of the day, from why the new government may discover that ending rough sleeping is much harder than it sounds, to the latest shift in Number 10's political communication strategy. And aboard the Burnham bus, can he really bring buses back? There may also be some talk about good, solid, muscular bottoms. And speaking of nice hunks of beef you always want behind you, Robert Crampton's here.
Hi, Hugo.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. Yeah,
even after that. That's
good.
Yeah,
even after that. Yeah.
And apologies in advance, also Alice Thomson. Hello, Alice.
Hi. Well, Robert can only just squeeze into the chair now. He's got such good glutes.
Yeah.
Do you reckon? No, thank you. So kind, Alice.
Oh,
you flatter me every week.
We should see if we can get the camera on there to... No, maybe not.
No.
How are you both? You both well?
Yeah.
Having an exciting week?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
New Labour, New Britain, sort of?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're kind of getting used to it, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not quite got the buzz it used to have, has it? New Prime Minister. It's like, yeah.
No, I'm feeling very, very buzzy. Look, his first cabinet meeting yesterday morning, Andy Burnham told ministers to take a hard look at their budgets. He appeared to be rolling the pitch for an effective income tax cut on Monday, but then he seems to have backtracked from that already. That plan seems to have been scrapped. Mm-hmm. Alice, do you get a sense he's already sort of feeling a sense of how tight the fiscal shackles are when you're in office?
Yeah, I think he now knows what it was like for Keir Starmer. So he has belittled Keir quite a lot, and even recently. And he's made it sound like Keir just wasn't up to the job. And actually now he's beginning to understand how tricky it's going to be. And he's already given away quite a lot. He wants to end rough sleeping. He wants the £2 buses.
Social care.
Yeah, social care is going to be the big one. And so he's got to work out what he's going to do. And it's just, I mean, it's almost like simple maths. If you're going to give out money, you've got to find out where it's coming from.
There were various headlines this morning about him sort of sitting at the cabinet table, imploring people to find cuts in their department budgets, and it's like, surely, I don't know, it's like surely someone's tried that before. When someone said, "Hey guys, just try."
Yeah, I mean, take a long hard look is not really leadership, is it? It's sort of saying it would be nice if you had a look at your budget over the summer and came back with, but it's not really cracking the whip and saying to people, you must find 5% or whatever.
Well, so he doesn't want to take the responsibility, does he? So what he's saying is, you're going to have to announce this. It's not going to be me. I'm not going to say I'm cutting back on anything. You're the ones. You've got to be the bad guys. I'm going to be the good guy.
That is kind of how cabinet responsibility is meant to work, I suppose. Sort of, isn't it?
No, I think you take the flat. If you're the leader, you're the one that says we're going to have to make hard choices, aren't you?
Okay, well, let's have a listen to Andy Burnham speaking to reporters this morning.
I will always be honest with the public. It's my style. This week, the three policies I've announced, ending rough sleeping, the bus cap we're announcing today, and the removal of VAT off electricity bills are all fully funded. And that's the way I will go. And people will say, well, how? I've reprioritised. The public's priority is reducing cost of living pressures. And that's what I'm doing.
I don't.
That
doesn't sound fully funded to me.
Yeah, he says he'll always be honest, and so then says they're fully funded. But we've heard that one of them isn't fully funded.
Well, we've heard that the cut on electricity VAT, which I think is going to be cost about close on $1 billion, 800,000 million,
850,000,
$850 million.
Sorry,
it's funded by the fact that digital IDs are being scrapped. But apparently that money had not already been allotted anyway, so that's not really a saving. And the other two, I mean, you hear three measures and they all cost money rather than raise money, or cut money, or cut spending. So that doesn't sound fully funded to me.
Also, he's made so many enemies with Keir Starmer's lot that Darren Jones is just going to keep saying if money isn't going to come, and they're not going to help them. They're not going to say, you know what, actually, when we were in office, we realised that we could have saved this money here and here, but we just didn't get around to it or didn't have time. They're going to do absolutely nothing to help, are they?
I sort of wonder if the more striking thing already, look, it's early days. We don't know what the situation will be in a week, and one doesn't want to be like, oh, he's a disaster after, sort of barely 48 hours. But, he must have seen this coming. He must have thought, I've been talking a good game and very quickly I'm going to have to say how I pay for stuff. He must have done. Yeah,
but he also, his priority is to keep the Labour MPs on side, isn't it? So that's hence the sort of soft language on, look hard at your budgets, rather than saying you must cut. What worried me, as I was going to get onto rough sleeping later, but just the sort of kind of institutional point, him saying, I have issued an instruction to end rough sleeping. That, to me, obviously it's a headline grabber and it's relatively cheap. It's hard to do. But it also betrays a sort of a certain naivety about, I'm the big man now, I pull this lever and something happens. I mean, whether it was that simple.
Yeah, and it's not going to be that cheap. I mean, it's an almost possible thing to achieve. So to say I'm going to be honest, when he says I'm going to end rough sleeping, he's not. He didn't end it in Manchester. He's not going to end it in Britain. It's impossible to end. So it was an odd one to start with because it's something that he's never going to find possible to achieve, is it?
I did think as well in his speech, that pledge, it sort of slightly seemed to come out of nowhere. I guess it's the perils of speaking without notes. That maybe there'd been some kind of preamble leading up to it.
I think he always wanted to do it because I remember I saw him 10 years ago in doing an interview and it was the first thing he said he wanted to do when he was Mayor of Manchester. And we went up there and I spent a day with him looking at rough sleeping. So he does care passionately about this issue and he really, really wants to do it. Oddly, Jeremy Corbyn said it was the first thing that he would do if he became Prime Minister.
I think Boris and Theresa did as well, didn't they?
Theresa May's done it, and so the Lib Dems had it in their manifesto. So
Prince William said it, didn't he? It's
well, Prince William says he's got a 5-year plan, but then he's also got the housing. So I mean, he's actually doing something because he's trying to change the system by using some of his housing.
It can be done. We went some distance towards eradicating rough sleeping during COVID, for example. But I guess you need the cooperation of the rough sleepers, otherwise it becomes a bit authoritarian.
Yeah, and also that was 90% of them were put in hotels, but that was also quite temporary because it came back again in 2023. So you can say you'll do that, and people do it if they're fearful. They will go into a hotel, but it's so much more complex.
And it needs some really serious joined-up government because a lot of it is a problem of mental health and substance abuse.
And it's a hostage to fortune because all it takes is one person sleeping on Whitehall and with the photo of him driving past, and it's like bang, there you go.
Yeah, but I guess he's trying to set some sort of mood music, and it's in the way that Keir Starmer did the opposite of hitting the ground running. He's trying to say, this is my agenda. Here I am.
Yeah, and it does come up in polls the whole time. So when people are asked what they want, they say they want to end the rough sleeping in their towns because it just looks bad, and they feel guilty, and no one benefits. So actually, it's a great thing to try and achieve. It's just they're not going to do it unless they pull the levers on all sorts of different areas. Every single apartment's going to have to pull their weight if they want to achieve this.
Yeah, you do. I mean, just stick on rough sleeping for a moment longer. You don't solve rough sleeping by promising to solve rough sleeping. You solve rough sleeping by promising to solve all the problems that feed into it.
Yes.
Well, like prisons. I mean, prisons is going to be a disaster because they're letting out 5,000 people. Those people haven't got places to go and live. They've been let out early. They've got a third of them haven't got a home, so they're going to be on the streets. Then you've got the mental health issues which they haven't sorted out, and then you've got the asylum seekers, and not all of them have places to go. So you've got a whole load of people who are all on the streets for different reasons. And
veterans, you got a lot,
and the veterans,
startling number of veterans.
Domestic abuse. There's so many things like that you're just going to have to address before you're going to clear up the problem.
Yeah, indeed. Well, look, it didn't take long yesterday for Burnham to move on to his favourite topic of conversation, which is apparently buses. And today we have a £2 cap on bus fares outside London, which is costing the taxpayer £400 million. So it's yet another sum. But buses are always the most unloved sort of joke form of public policy. I think kind of people outside cities and outside major cities do see them a bit differently. I remember that there's that remarkable quote from Margaret Thatcher saying, was it any man over the age of 25 who finds himself on a bus must consider himself a failure?
Did she actually say that?
Let's assume she did. She was. Do you think she didn't? Is that a popular?
Robert's worrying because he takes the bus every day.
I get the bus every day.
I wonder if she was saying it specifically about you, Robert.
No, I mean I don't consider myself a failure. I don't consider the other people on the bus a failure. Buses in London are great. They're not a joke at all. They take rather longer than they should do, but you can sit and read and you get there eventually. But I'm surprised. In fact, it's the opposite, because when I talk to people outside of London and they're surprised at my familiarity with the bus, partly because rural bus services or suburban bus services are more or less non-existent in this country. I mean, they're a disgrace. I remember doing a story up in Essex a year or two ago, and if people there wanted to get to Saffron Walden, I think it was, which is sort of 8-9 miles away, there was one bus a day. So if you were old or disabled or didn't have a car for any reason, you were stuck.
Yeah, well, if you're going to school, I mean, the school buses that, in Devon, the bus system now is just impossible to get anywhere at all. And also they don't link with the train, so a train may come in. If you're a child trying to get to school, the train comes in and the bus comes in, 45 minutes before or 45 minutes after. That's just never going to work. That you need to have, and that's if you go to places like, Germany's dire too, but if you go to Italy and Switzerland, they've now linked everything up, and so they've got an incredible bus system that's linked into their train system, and then they've got the bikes.
I think the £2 cap is I'm not sure people are not getting buses because they're too expensive.
Yeah, they're not getting buses because there aren't the buses.
Correct.
Yeah, that's probably true. I know in Scotland they made bus travel free for teenagers, which had this sort of remarkable effect that all teenagers in their holidays would just be travelling all around Scotland by bus, which everybody loved it, although it was kind of bankrupting. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Alice, how do we re-glamorise the bus? How do we make it sort of a nation that's proud and delighted about having a much more sort of extensive bus network? That we no longer think that anyone who finds themselves on a bus is a failure.
Well,
and
I
everyone
kind
wants
of
a good
don't,
bus
because I think
network.
the buses are quite iconic still in London. I take a bus sometimes. I'm more
but
of
not
a
here.
tube person.
Out in the real world.
Out in the real world, they just have to have more. I mean, there just are none. I mean, it's kind of extraordinary. It's the number one bus. If you get off at Tiverton, there is. I mean, and that always just makes your heart sink. Because you think, where are the other buses if it's just number one? And that's that, and it just goes round and round. And I think what they need to do is just have a much better, it's probably smaller fleet of buses in the countryside that are, and also I quite like the idea of just colour, the fact that they just look grim, don't they now?
I'd have minibuses rather than big buses. I mean, even in London, I would have more of those. I mean, the problem in London, you've got a bus which is twice a day is too small, and for the rest of the time is way too big. And I'd enforce bus lanes properly. I mean, the people get away with just blocking up bus lanes. I have, more of them, and, like 12, 18-seater minibuses rather than great big unwieldy things that are not any good on country lanes. And
I once took a bus from Stornoway on the Western Isles to London, and some small part of me emotionally is kind of still on it, even though this was in the mid-1990s. Look, coming up, we're going to be talking about defence spending as well, and the Cabinet overall, and plenty more beside. Before, as promised, we do get to bottoms. Hugo Rifkind here on Times Radio, currently unpacking the politics of the day with Alice Thomson and Robert Crampton. We've been talking a bit about the Cabinet and the dilemmas they have over spending. Let's talk about defence spending. When he was Defence Secretary, John Healey hounded the Treasury to increase military spending to up to 3% of GDP before he resigned over the funding row, but Andy Burnham is so far refusing to commit to this target. This was echoed by Wes Streeting, the new Defence Secretary, as he refused to call for the 3% target wanted even by the new Chancellor. This is going to be quite the bun fight, isn't it, Alice? Because defence is one of the key areas where we assume spending will have to go up. John Healey resigned over it not going up, and yet now he's the guy, pulling the lever, as it were, and it still might not go up.
Yeah, I mean, that's outrageous in a way. You can't resign because you say there is enough money, and then when you've actually able to give it, I think Wes will be quite good there. Wes was always good at getting money for health. I think it's a pity he's left health, because I think he was great, and he was just beginning to get to grips with it. And I don't think it matters that he's got no defence background. I think we've got this new, and it's only in the last few years when we've had to have somebody that's dressed in fatigues and kind of loves going on a tank and diving into icy water. I don't think we need that. I think we need someone who is going to get the cash, but he does need to get it.
Maybe he wants to get on a tank and dive into icy water as well.
Well, not the first Defence Secretary who didn't serve in the forces.
They all love those boys' toys, don't they?
That was a certain Mr. Rifkind, who was the first Defence Secretary who didn't serve. But I mean,
it is weird that John Healey is now, at least theoretically, in a position to make good on the promise that he resigned over, and yet might not be able to. Very strange. I think one of the problems with British politics is that I think the average cabinet minister is in a job for about 11 months or something. I mean, I know. Okay, so Streeting did well to get 2 years at Health. I mean, that was his. That's his thing. That's his passion. So I think the more people can stay where their expertise is, the better. I'm glad that Shabana Mahmood has stayed at the
and Yvette Cooper should have stayed at Foreign Office, because actually she's very good at it. And Ed Miliband obviously has zero interest in the Foreign Office and doesn't even like getting on a plane and thinking it's not going to work.
And that is how things get done. I mean, I think successful ministers over time of both parties are people who have a good crack at it. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't think. I mean, having said that, I think Wes Streeting is a good thing. I think he's a bright guy. He'll get on top of his brief. It's fairly straightforward. We need to spend a lot more, and we need to spend it on different kind of systems rather than great big prestige projects like aircraft carriers that don't work.
Unless I'm wrong, I think the Times reports today that Rachel Reeves was offered the defence job before it went to Wes Streeting.
Right.
I think she may have been offered education, actually.
I think she was offered both.
So, I mean, what's weird is that she didn't want to. What I think is kind of, there's something that doesn't sit quite right with me is the fact that John Healey, if he didn't want more for defence, why was he resigning? And then you get this sense now that a lot of them, it was almost orchestrated, this resignation list, that they all did it because they wanted to get rid of Keir. And it feels, if that's what they were doing, if there was this much of a plot and a plan, and that they were all offered various things if they left. It doesn't really bode well for the new government, because you're thinking, you actually really wanted to get rid of your last leader.
Somebody wrote a column about this. I think it might have been Juliet Samuel. I might be giving her undue credit, because it might have been Paddy Maguire, but I think it was Juliet saying when Healey went, and everyone was saying what a great guy he is, she said, hold on a minute, there might be a deal here. Look out for John Healey as Andy Burnham's Chancellor.
Yeah,
I think it was her, and she's all over the defence stuff. So
and you've got the same in Scotland, because you've got the Labour Scottish guy who's now coming down and going to be in the House of Lords, having said he didn't like the House of Lords, who's now also going to get a job, and he was the first to resign. So,
but that's standard, isn't it?
They always do that. Yeah. Look, let's have a look at the cabinet overall and who's in it, because it's pretty diverse. It's very northern. There are a lot of women, but on the other hand, it may well be the most Oxbridge educated cabinet of the modern era. What do we think about that, Robert?
I think it's 15 out of 28 attending cabinet. 53% went to Oxbridge. I'd be surprised if that was higher than than maybe
the olden days.
The olden days.
Yeah.
Harold Wilson famously had 8 Oxford firsts in one of his cabinets. But then I guess that would have been balanced out by working class trade unionists. So. Yeah, it's a lot. It's the way I speak as somebody who's benefited from the Oxbridge stamp. But yeah, it's the way it's obviously an example of a complete lack of diversity in this country. I would say in Oxbridge's defence that they're meritocratic in the sense that you have to get into them, unless you're King Charles, who went there with 2 Ds, I think, to Cambridge. So it's not the same as public school. They're often bracketed together. Public school and Oxbridge, but one is about money, and the other is at least an imperfect meritocracy. Well, therefore, it wouldn't be a surprise that those people do well and get into the cabinet.
So just to nod to the diversity in the room right now,
exactly.
I too went to Oxbridge, but unlike you, Robert, I went to Cambridge, and Andy Burnham is the first Cambridge PM since Stanley Baldwin in 1937. So, Alice, it's nice to see the little guys finally getting a go, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the diversity is amazing here. I think what's strange is this Labour cabinet have very much said that they were brought up under Thatcher and education was appalling, and they had it really tough and it was awful, and yet they got to Oxbridge. So something's working in Britain if the talented are getting into the top universities. And in some ways, you could say it's great that we have this incredibly diverse cabinet, where over half of them, 54% it is, that who went to Oxbridge, got there, and they got there on merit, and they didn't get there with any family connections or having gone to private school. And they've got, I think, 6 of them went to private school. That's probably about what the percentage in the country is. And they've got 2 who were born abroad. I mean,
the percentage in the country is much lower than that, Alice, because that's nearly
7%. Yeah,
but that's nearly a quarter. 6 out of 28.
6 out of 28. I suppose there's more. Yeah. But they're kind of it's a much more balanced cabinet than it would have been before. Well, I mean, when you had grammar schools, it was different again. That was the thing. I mean, it's just because when you lost those, then you went back.
But because it's so balanced, as you say, you'd think they'd be a bit more forgiving of the world that allowed that to happen, rather than seeing it as the point where everything started to go wrong.
Possibly, yeah. Or they might say this. They had this opportunity, so they'd like it because they. I mean, I know coming from I don't sound like too much like Andy Burnham with his Manchester shtick, but coming from a northern comprehensive, I got to Oxford and I realised that the people there, the top 10 people in my class at school, none of whom went to Oxbridge, apart from me, were as clever as those people.
Right.
So you think, well, why didn't they have this opportunity as well?
See, that's funny, because I went to a sort of, minor public school in Scotland, and I got to Cambridge and realised that nobody from my school, including me, was even remotely as clever as any of the people I was meeting there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
well,
maybe that's Cambridge versus Oxford.
Maybe it's me versus Robert.
The stats on the northern thing were interesting. I mean, it's funny, isn't it, that everybody makes a fuss because a majority of them were born in the north. Or no, not a majority even, but a lot of them were born in the north. I looked at those figures and I saw that 7% of Thatcher's first cabinet were born in the north. 7%. I don't know whether anybody made a fuss about that at the time, but it makes you think that's maybe why she was able to do what she did to manufacturing industry in the north of England.
But I guess it was that's probably true. But I guess it was sort of a less big deal then, because until that happened, we had a more balanced nation. You know what I mean? Like you weren't the underdog just because you came from Manchester back in the 1970s. You know, you were from another proud hub of Britain.
I guess so. Although it was obviously a big barrier to get into a Conservative cabinet, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's true. Although there's a long tradition of Tories from Birmingham, for example.
Yeah, but Birmingham isn't included in this definition of the north. It's north, east, north west, and Yorkshire and Humber.
In South West, they don't have any. They're just not. And you have to go back to sort of Pitt. I mean, it's like I think they're all just having a good time on the beaches.
Your man Baldwin was the Cambridge boy, wasn't he, from Birmingham? I think
he was. Yeah.
Joe Chamberlain.
South West, no cabinet ministers, no buses. What a nightmare. Let's move on. Did you
also read English, though? That's what I want to know.
No, I did philosophy.
Oh, you had philosophy. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did.
So do you think Burnham's inferior to you then?
I don't know. Hardest to get in for English, but let's be honest, the books are easier. Let's move on. I want to talk about let's talk about early release. The mother of Andrew Harper, the police officer who was dragged behind a speeding car, has been told that 2 of his killers may be eligible to leave prison from September under Labour's early release prison scheme. Under this scheme, serious offenders, including killers, rapists, child groomers, etc., will qualify for automatic release after serving half their sentences rather than 2/3, provided they've not seriously breached prison rules while serving time. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and the Defence Secretary, Wes Streeting, have both apologised after being caught on a hot mic joking about this. Have a listen to this. If you listen closely, you can hear Wes Streeting say, he's the enemy now, referring to the new Justice Secretary, Alex Norris, adding that he wants to let them all out, and then they both laugh.
Oh, are you? You know he's the enemy now, isn't Justice Shabbat? No, he's not.
Well, it's quite hard to hear exactly what they're saying, but in posts on X, both Wes Streeting and Shabana Mahmood have apologised, and they've said they hoped it's clear that there was no ill intent. Andy Burnham was asked whether he thought any of it was acceptable. Here's what he said.
No, it's not, and certainly that's been acknowledged, and apologies have been made. On the broader issue, I feel for the family it's an appalling crime that was committed. The main perpetrator will not be subject to any early release.
Robert, a hot mic is a big deal, but early release is a bigger deal.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for the family as well, especially when you see that the note that they got, that the mother got from the Ministry of Justice, saying how this event may have impacted your life, or some really kind of measly
thing.
Like your son getting murdered. Who impacted her life. 7 years is they were convicted in 1919. They'll get out in September. Most of us, I think, would think 7 years is not enough.
No.
For that crime, especially being a serving police officer, that has to be deterred in the most severe way. Obviously, you've got a problem with overcrowding in prisons, and I was just looking at some of the stats. The problem is that you say get the white-collar people out, but there are hardly any white-collar criminals in prison anymore. I think it's about 500 people are in prison for fraud. Most of them are sex offences, violence, drugs, robbery and theft, and that is that's the lion's share of it. And obviously, in a perfect world, you don't want any of those people coming out after half their sentence. The other interesting information I saw was that Leeds is the most overcrowded prison in Britain at 172% capacity. But then you've got other prisons which are only at 60 or 70% capacity. So somewhere, and obviously there's different bands of security and so forth, but somewhere it looks like somebody's not being massively intelligent in terms of the current use of what resources they have got. The other point is that 87,000 prisoners in Britain at the moment, 10,000, nearly 11,000, I think, are foreign nationals. And I don't think it's all sort of reformy to say, why can't they go and serve their sentence where they come from?
Well, because there's always the danger if they get to go to serve the sentence where they come from, they get let out where they come from.
Yeah,
and they just sent home for free despite having committed.
Is that the reason? Because
I'm sure it's one of the reasons.
The main reason is there are no reciprocal agreements. So when you go to these prisons, I've spent a lot of time in places like Wandsworth and Wormwood Scrubs, and when you go there, they have got them, but it's incredibly difficult to send somebody back, as we know, and also quite often they don't even have their passport anymore.
Right? Is it that we just don't trust their justice system? I mean, like 11% of those 10,000 are from Albania. Now, is it that we just don't trust the Albanian justice system? We think that they'll go back there and there'll be a bit of money will change hands and they'll
very possibly. Honestly, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, that does seem plausible that you want people to be, because I mean, you see this argument working in both directions. When British people are jailed in the United States, for example, there's a clamour to bring them home.
Yeah.
I mean, but early release generally, Alice, it's a headache for the government that's not going to go away. There will be numerous scandals again and again, like there always are over schemes like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all the sex abuse offenders, that's very tricky. When I was in Wandsworth, I remember going round and there were people who'd been there for a very long time and they get no education. They're locked up for 23 hours a day and they didn't have anywhere to go when they left, and most of them had very few skills. But I was thinking, we need to do more for them. You're sort of very empathetic. And then we went into the sex offenders unit and they were talking about early release. And as a woman, I was thinking, you've got to be joking. And it's very personal to you, isn't it? You just think, I don't want these people on the streets. I want them locked up in here. And if they're out early, you just feel they've also probably they haven't been given any rehabilitation. I don't really feel that they probably changed that much. Most of them. It's not like it was. I mean, in Germany they cut the number from 80,000. We had 60,000 in Britain, 60,000 in Germany in the 1980s, and they went down to 40,000. And we went up to 80,000, and that was because we thought prison worked, and actually it's worked better in Germany. And I think we should do much more not to get people into prison, but once they're there, they've got to actually serve most of
I agree, and it's not as if people, because I approach this thinking, it's all, you get the white collar people out, get the people on short sentences out, but there's hardly anybody in there who's serving under a year or so, and there's hardly anybody in there for white collar. I think that maybe the one we got to look at is drugs, because if you want to keep the sex offenders in, obviously you want to keep the violent people in, you want to keep the robbers in, but 25% of people are in prison for drugs offences, not because they've been hurt.
But even then, they're not in because they're addicts. They're not in because they were picked up for possession. They're in because they're involved in the drugs trade, which is organised crime. Which is and quite often you'll have
county lines that involve quite a lot of children.
Yes.
You're getting people hooked.
But maybe not all of them.
But maybe not all of them. Yeah,
and also women's prisons. We never look at those, but actually they have fewer offenders, and they're only like 1.5% of prisoners who are locked up. But they're. But I do think we have to look at that, because most of those are easier to see through the system and to release, and some of them are still there for issues like shoplifting.
Oh, and also keep them inside, and then you get to deal with rough sleeping as well, as previously discussed. Let's swivel on a sixpence and talk about something very, very different, because I want to talk about Number 10's TikTok tone shift. The official Number 10 account posted this on Andy Burnham's first day.
This week, a hot new bombshell enters the villa. Don't call me up, I'm going out tonight.
I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. To paint a picture, that was Andy Burnham walking into Number 10 to the same voiceover they used to play when a bombshell enters the villa in Love Island. Alice, is this weird? This is weird.
Yeah, you know what actually I thought was extraordinary was today on the front pages we've got this picture of Prince George, aged 13, and it's really grown up. He's in a suit with a shirt and he looks like he's about 60.
I see where you're going.
And then you get the Prime Minister doing a TikTok that kind of would be a 13-year-old's TikTok. I mean, it's kind of extraordinary. And actually, I don't really like it. If that's what's being projected, that's what people are seeing around the world. That's not really what we want from our Prime Minister, is it?
Robert?
Yeah, I don't like it. It's, you've got to be very careful if you're trading. I mean, Kemi Badenoch said he was, a pair of eyelashes and a black T-shirt, and he's, no, much more. I'm a man of substance, right? But if you're kind of saying, hey, I'm a sexy dad, which is sort of hot new bombshell, partly it's just arrogant, and people don't like that. It's immodest. And it's also just not very serious, is it? It's not very serious at all.
Well, he's got this woman called Abby Tomlinson who's been doing his TikToks, and she's great. I mean, she started off with Ed Miliband. She was a complete fan of his, and she helped him.
So people forget, but back in the Ed Miliband leading the opposition day, although he was electorally something of a disaster, didn't win an election, arguably he should have won, among young people, there was this whole Ed Miliband cult, which sounds like like a joke even to say it, but it's true. He was massive online, wasn't he, Alice?
And Abby was the one that kind of led that, and then that's why she then got into politics. She is now doing it for the Prime Minister, and she's great. Although I actually thought Keir Starmer did a TikTok yesterday, and it was probably the best one he's ever done.
What was that?
It's a kind of extraordinary. It's him sort of driving off into the distance. I reckon one of his kids did it, actually. It's not. It's so on him. But I don't, once you've left,
sort of Thelma and Louise
it's
style.
very Thelma and Louise style.
Oh, I thought that was a joke.
No, it's not.
You mean with his face, as soon superimposed on
superimposed, yeah. And actually, in a funny way, I kind of think once you've left office, you can do what you want. But when you're at number 10, you need to take it seriously.
It's hard for me because I'm not on TikTok, and I think, obviously this woman is Abby. She's 28. I think she started the Miliband thing when she was 17. And that's what you need. It's like the woman, the White House woman. What's her name? Caroline Levitt.
Yeah,
She's very similar, isn't it?
It's similar. She was 24, I think. Whatever. I think if that's what you need to get to young voters, then I sort of say I acknowledge my age and I shrug my shoulders and I say, well, I don't really approve of it, but yeah.
I mean, we've got used to over the last few years. Like, so Nigel Farage sort of rampages across social media. He spreads everywhere.
And he does cameos. He does 20 cameos a day.
Well, still, really. Yeah.
Paid for.
Well, that's good money.
Yeah,
Do you think the younger generation are going to want Love Island in number 10? I mean, that is kind of creepy.
I just something else amusing, but on the TikTok, I don't necessarily think it makes any difference. They just say, "Oh yeah, look at that," and then on they go.
I guess it's the difference between whether it's bluntly whether you've heard of whoever it is or whether you haven't heard of whoever it is. And so if you've got, Keir Starmer was just a sort of faceless nobody, whereas at least they know who Andy Burnham is. They recognise him.
Selling a 56-year-old on his looks to a bunch of kids.
It's kind of weird. It's a bit creepy.
I think it's a bit creepy, Dad.
Yes.
But these things, these cultures, they develop in ways that no one can quite understand or plan. Remember Jeremy Corbyn? Jeremy Corbyn was huge across social media. You could tell he himself had no grasp at all of what his image was.
But he was
online.
a stock character. He was a magic grandpa, wasn't he? I think somebody called him that, and so he was a sort of he was a stock. Yeah, he was a recognisable. What Andy Burnham is, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, maybe the problem is that he is trying to be in control of it and he's not letting it develop organically. Because if you can imagine if there was this culture of hot older man that spread across TikTok and he wasn't himself pushing it, then that would work extremely well.
Yeah, But when you're doing it yourself,
when you try
and give yourself a nickname, everyone's got to call me Hawk,
Ace.
Yeah. Ace.
You may call me Ace. Yeah.
Maybe it's just Abby though. Maybe she's doing it on her own.
In an early job, my first job, in fact. So there's a joke in Red Dwarf, the sitcom, about people trying to give themselves their own nickname.
Yeah.
And I think it's Rimmer. He pretends his nickname was Ace. We were having this conversation in the office about what our nicknames had been at school, and I said, referencing that joke, my nickname was Ace. And to this day, I have a colleague who I worked with there, who I'm still good friends with, who still calls me Ace in a non-ironic fashion.
Your nickname at school was Ace?
No, it wasn't. That was the joke.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course it wasn't. Should have been. Wasn't.
I was going to say that would be cool.
All right, let's get to it. Robert, you've been writing about men's bottoms.
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
Well, apparently bottoms are
big.
It used to be with a guy, if you wanted to get in shape, you got the six-pack, you got the biceps, and in as much as you thought about your bottom at all, it had to be sort of probably as small as possible.
This is certainly my bottom agenda, I would say.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, I've been going to the gym for a long time, and that was it. I mean, that was what you'd maybe...
I've never really given my bottom much thought in the gym context.
And you certainly didn't think of it as trying to enlarge it. But now, bottoms are all the rage. I was talking to one of the guys I interviewed for that piece, who's a personal trainer who works in the Cotswolds with a lot of
small-bottomed men,
big-bottom men.
Well, big bottom now.
Yeah.
High net worth individuals, which is what we now call rich people in the Cotswolds, and they are all in tremendous competition with each other to have a bigger bottom. Yeah. Apparently, the thing about
high net worth, high butt girth.
High butt girth, very good. What a wordsmith!
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Get that into your column tomorrow, and I'll buy you dinner. Apparently, with a six-pack, you can cheat, because with a six-pack, we've all got a six-pack lurking there. It's just hidden. So all you do is diet and dehydrate, and there it is. And so people who are into this kind of thing know that, but you can't cheat on a big bum.
Yeah, and also English men famously just didn't have good bums, did they? I mean, they just don't have high bums. It's like
you say that like this is something I'd have been aware of. What? Go on.
But they just don't. I mean,
is that right?
They're just anatomically, they just sag more, don't they? Naturally.
When you go for a nice bum,
Kim
then
Kardashian. Now, what's weird to me is you're all trying to copy her.
Am I?
It's quite feminine.
Well, it's another example, as I say in the thing, in the piece. It's another example of sort of the feminisation of this space.
Yeah, it is.
Because
it's like when you're jaw maxing and all that stuff, and you're putting on the makeup. I mean, you can see obviously you're fully made up now, and you're
one guy
doing your teeth next, and you've got the gap between your teeth.
This is all natural me.
No, the gap between the teeth is quite big now, Hugo.
Men used to own the sort of strength and conditioning space.
Yeah.
And they thought that bums was a girly thing, didn't bother. But since it's all been digital, women, people can vote with their feet, and the female idea of having a bottom, a decent bottom, has now kicked over into men as well.
We just want
Do you
you to work hard,
Do you
basically.
know what? I'm going to sit this one out. Robert, in further body envy, you've also got serious arm envy for Matt Damon.
No, that's exaggerating a bit. I saw Matt at the Odyssey last week. Matt Damon's got. I just thought, well done, Matt. I mean, Matt's 56, I think, pushing 56, and he looked good in Bourne, and he looked good in Invictus, but he was only in his 30s then, and now he's 56, and he's got himself in really good shape for. I mean, being an actor these days, a lot of it is about going to the gym, isn't it?
Yeah, seems
God, his diet is insane as well. So he cut out absolutely everything in his diet, and then he doesn't now eats no wheat. I don't know why I know all this. It's
and again, it's one of those things where
it's kind of fascinating how much effort he's put into this.
And women, it used to be just actresses who were there for their looks, and now guys have prolonged their career by serious gym work. And
but I reckon the Greeks probably did too. I mean, kind of weirdly, it's not.
They were all dead by the time they were 56.
Yeah, but you do think they were putting in the work, weren't they? When we know that's where it came from. That actually the Greek men were really into their bodies.
Well, and also if you're Odysseus and you're on a boat for 8 years flapping around in the Aegean, you're going to lose serious weight. Is Matt Damon the only man whose arms you're slightly jealous of, Robert?
Statham as well. I mean, Statham is the go-to. Jason Statham is obviously a fine actor.
Anyone closer to home, closer in the room right now?
Oh, no, we got back on that again. We need to put that to bed, Hugo, because since that happened, I've really
This is Robert just bringing up of his own account, it seems, the time that I beat him in an arm wrestle.
Yeah, but that was you're living on past glories there, Hugo.
I am, really and will forever until we go again.
A bit like Odysseus, mucking around, talking about Troy.
Alice, I'm going to ask this question, but bums or arms, which are more important?
Oh, arms, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, because you can't. I mean, bums, I do think it's a bit effeminate. I just think. I'm trying to learn how to do a press up for the Times because I still can't do a press up, which is pretty bad.
I'll show you
next week, right here in the studio.
Yeah, we're going to do some
maybe I'm off next week. We will have you both doing press ups. We'll have the Robert Crampton press up school. Just where this conversation has gone, where it always gone.
Where it always goes.
Robert Crampton, Alice Thomson. Thank you very much indeed. This is Hugo Rifkind here on Times Radio.